Thank you, Mr. Chairman. General Alexander, do you feel that this open hearing today jeopardizes in any way our national security?
I don't think the hearing itself jeopardizes it. I think the damage was done in the release of the information already. I think today what we have the opportunity is to, where it makes sense, provide additional information on the oversight, the compliance, and some of the statistics without jeopardizing it. So to answer your question, no, we're being very careful to do that, and I appreciate what the committee has done on that.
How many people were in the same position as Snowden was as a systems manager to have access to this information that could be damaging if released?
Well, there are system administrators throughout NSA and all our complexes around the world, and there is on the order of 1,000 system administrators, people who actually run the networks, that have in certain sections that level of authority and ability to interface with the system.
How many of those are outside contractors rather than?
The majority are contractors. As you may recall, about 12, 13 years ago, as we tried to downsize our government workforce, we pushed more of our information technology workforce or system administrators to the contract arena. That's consistent across the intelligence community.
I would argue that this conversation that we're having now could have happened, unlike what you said, Mr. Litt, and perhaps we disagree also, General Alexander, that the erosion of trust, the misconceptions and the misunderstandings that resulted, and why one would assume that when there's 1,000, are there any more than 1,000, by the way, do you think?
Well, we're actually counting all those positions. I'll get you an accurate number.
That some of this information would not have become public, and that the effort that has to convince the American public of the necessity of this program, I think, would suggest that we would have been better off at having a discussion of the rigorous oversight, the legal framework, et cetera, up front, and how this could prevent perhaps another 9/11, and in fact 50 or so attacks. Let me ask you this, Mr. Cole. You were talking about transparency, and you were saying that essentially that while the Verizon phone records order looked bad on its face, that there are other FISA court orders that talk in more depth about the legal rationale, about what we're doing. So will you release those court opinions with the necessary redactions, of course, and if not, why?
Well, I'm going to refer that over to Mr. Litt because the classifying authority on that would be DNI.
As you may know, we have been working for some time on trying to declassify opinions of the FISA court. It's been a very difficult task because, like most legal opinions, you have facts intermingled with legal discussion, and the facts frequently involve classified information, sensitive sources and methods. And what we've been discovering is that when you remove all the information that needs to be classified, you're left with something that looks like Swiss cheese and is not really very comprehensible. Having said that, I think as General Alexander said, there's information out in the public domain now. There's the Director of National Intelligence declassified certain information about these programs last week. And as a result of that, we are going back, taking another look at these opinions to see whether, in light of that declassification, there's now we can make a more comprehensible release of the opinion. So the answer to that is we are looking at that, and frankly, we would like to release into the public domain as much of this as we can without compromising national security.
I think, General Alexander, so what other types of records are collected under this Section 215? Can you talk about that at all?
Yeah, for NSA, the only records that are collected under Business Records 215 is this telephony data. That's all.
And is there authorization to collect more?
Under 215 for us, no. This is the only that we do. Now, it gets into other authorities, but it's not ours. And I don't know if I'll pass that to the Attorney General because you're asking me now outside of NSA.
215 is generally is a general provision that allows the acquisition of business records if it's relevant to a national security investigation. So that showing has to be made to the court to allow that subpoena to issue, that there is a relevance and a connection. And that can be any number of different kinds of records that a business might maintain: customer records, purchase orders, things of that nature. Buys materials that they could make an explosive out of. You could go to a company that sells those and get records of the purchase, things of that nature.
What about emails?
Emails would not be covered by business records in that regard. You would have to, under the Electronic Communications Privacy Act, get specific court authorization for emails that stored content. If you're going to be looking at them in real time while they're going, you're going to have a separate FISA court order that would allow you to do that. It wouldn't be covered by the business records.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Could I just make sure one clear part on the system administrator versus, so what you get access to is helping to run the network and the web servers that are on that network that are publicly available. To get to any data, like the business records 215 data that we're talking about, that's in an exceptionally controlled area. You'd have to have specific certificates to get into that. I am not aware that Snowden had any access to that. And on the reasonable articulable suspicion numbers and on what we're seeing there, I don't know of any inaccurate RAS numbers that have occurred since 2009. There are rigorous controls that we have from a technical perspective that once a number is considered RAS approved, that you put that number in, you can't make a mistake because the system helps correct that now. So that is a technical control that we put in there.
Thank you. I yield back.